and taking the lead of the procession is the Deputy Registrar in charge of scenic matters, Mrs. Comfort Higiato.
Comprising of the Provost, College of Medical Sciences, the Dean of Postgraduate School, the Dean of Students, Deans of various faculties, Directors of academic programs and institutes, the inaugural lecturer, and principal officers
receiving the Vice Chancellor's procession.
The first and second stanzas of the national anthem, and then thereafter the Uniband anthem. Please watch your screen and let's sing together.
Vice Chancellor, the intellectual and esteemed Professor Salami, represented at this lecture by an erudite professor of ophthalmology and the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration of our university, Professor Catherine Ufume Uboma. Professors emeriti, other professors and scholars here present, government functionaries, the Olorunfemi family, great university staff and students, invited guests, distinguished Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon to the 314th inaugural lecture of the University of Benin, to be delivered by Professor Daniel Ikudayisi Olorunfemi, an outstanding professor of molecular and environmental genotoxicology. Vice Chancellor Professor Olorunfemi is also a gospel music maker and is popularly referred to in the music industry as Uncle Dan. And he has made several hit tracks. I wish he will have opportunity to sing to us today. He is also known for his expertise with musical instruments. But today and now, he will be delivering his lecture on the topic, when toxicity meets heredity.
Of environmental genotoxins on the molecules of life. May I now...
A member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, to introduce the Vice Chancellor and the personalities on the Vice Chancellor's entourage this afternoon. The registrar.
Madam Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with the usual manner so that we observe the time, because it's like we have to move very fast. This program is normally for 1 hour and it's switched from the throne. And because of that, we have no time to just waste. So kindly allow me to abide by the protocol as already established by the Deputy PRO of the University, Tracy. And it is on this note that I want to extend my courtesies all across. Madam Vice Chancellor, please permit me to present to this audience your own distinguished self, the principal officers, provosts, deans, and directors piloting the affairs of the university. First, I present to Ross, the #1 Vice Chancellor in the whole of Nigerian University, who happens to be one of the occasions of our inaugural, I said, we cannot describe her enough, but for the sake of protocol, each audience is different from another one because we have different people coming from different fields of the university to deliver inaugural lectures. So I want to assume that today, the Vice Chancellor is also the Vice President of all the other Vice Chancellors in the whole of Africa as the Vice President Association of African Universities, AAU. Please let's give her a round of applause. Sometimes when great things are passing by your side, you may not know. But it's also said that when great things are passing by your side, it shows you are great. So when you have great people around you, it shows that something is great about you. Madam Vice Chancellor is also highly recognized both within the community in the traditional sense, and she has many traditional titles. Two are very renowned, Oganete of Igara land and the Yemeso of Ondo Kingdom. I think we should give Madam Vice Chancellor. Incidentally, she might not be here today, but I'm sure she's also following us online because all these programs are being online, and even after this, you can see it on our YouTube channel. So, Professor Lillian Mathieu Salabi, please let's give her a round of applause. Fortunately today, you can also mistake the face of the person directing the affairs because it's also a distinguished professor, a female, who has made a mark in the world of medicine, ophthalmology in particular. So, representing the Vice Chancellor today is Professor Mrs. Catherine Okonwa, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration. We have somebody who is always talking of academic tempo each time we have this program, and it's privileged to preside. He's not going to talk about academic tempo today, but he's the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Ray Ozolo. Very close to him is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Ekenwa Campus, Professor B.A. Ayinde. The Chancellor of the Exchequer will refer to him as the Acting Bursar of the University, Mr. Gabriel Osadolo. The custodian of our books and publications and scholarly publications, Walter Choyo Medicine, Esquire, Acting Working Librarian. I would have used the teacher's voice, but I'm an administrator. I do more of the pen is mightier than any other thing whatsoever, and that's what I carry. Fortunately, the mic has been restored. The provost of sciences, Professor Winston Sado, the Acting Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Engineer S.J. Abiu. The #1 student on campus is the Distinguished Professor of Economics, the Dean Student Affairs, Professor A.C. Nwodao. And we have another very distinguished professor. I don't even need to say so much about it. He's the host day today, and he's the tallest, especially when we don't have Professor Apolaba and Rafi there. So he's the tallest. Sorry. He's the tallest in the park there in front. Professor N.J. Orwe, the Dean Faculty of Life. We call him Dean of Life, but we know Jesus Christ is the one in the Bible that says he's the one in charge of life. This one is life sciences. The Dean Faculty of Agriculture is ably represented here today by Dr. John Egodia. And the Dean Faculty of Arts is also represented here today, Professor A.O. Uwakocha. The Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Freddy Agoreye. And the Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences, V.J. Ekane. The Dean Faculty of Education, I refer to him as the boss of all the bosses, but he doesn't want that name. Because that's the faculty where the Vice Chancellor comes from. You can summon the Board of Studies meeting any moment. The Dean Faculty of Education, Professor K.O. Omorokiwa. The Dean Faculty of Engineering is represented here today by Dr. C.I. Boigwe. And the Dean Faculty of Law is also represented here today by Dr. Dandy Nwogu. Standing here in his own capacity is another Wilson from the College of Medical Sciences. This time around, the Dean School of Medicine, Professor Wilson Osaro Giago. And we have here the Dean. I'm sure nobody will smile too much today or laugh too much today. That's the name I always struggle with. But I think I've gone to school. I don't know whether I've passed it. The Dean Faculty of Physical Sciences, Professor E.O. Ayomi. The Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences is represented here today by Dr. I.N. Agedo. The Director Center for Part-Time Programs. Sorry, I beg your pardon. The Director Center for Distance Learning Program, Professor O. Aigo. And And of course, we have the Director Center for Entrepreneurship Development, Professor E.E. Okiagwe. Representing the Director Center for Educational Technology, that's the man who makes all these facilities available for us to reach out everywhere. Professor Hassan Oekina is represented here today by Mrs. I. Edo Songwan. And the Director Intellectual Property and Technology Office, IPTTO, Professor Anthony Ogbedu. Please don't let us be tired of clapping. I think we have some very active students. Let's clap for them. It's not easy to be a professor and director. The Director Center for Sustainable Development Goal is also here. Professor Mrs. Ujirogene Gudu. And the Director of DUPE Program, Professor Tito Ayewi. The Director Center for Advancement and Development, a former orator of this university, Professor Eti Erago, is also the Vice Chancellor. The Director of very resourceful student guidance and counseling center of this university, Professor Mrs. O.N. Ahie. And the Director Center for Mushroom Research and Technological Innovations. We need plenty of mushroom.
University Professor Ezemoyen, the Principal Officers of the University of Benin, the Provost College of Medical Sciences, Deans of Faculties and Schools, Directors of the Institutes, Members of Council and Senate, my Lord Spiritual and Temporal, staff and students of the University of Benin, greatest university students, greatest of indefatigable, visionary, and transformational Vice Chancellor, Professor Lilian Salama, who is unavoidably absent due to the exigencies of her duties. Just like our registrar told you, she is the chairman of Vice Chancellors of all Nigerian universities. She's really a pride to us because for her, and she's doing wonders. She's also the Vice President of the Association of African Universities. So because of that, she's unavoidably absent. But, you know, she is here with us because she will be, this program is being zoomed and she's there, she will be there, seeing everything. You know, I bring you very warm greetings from her. I welcome you all lecturer for today. This is Professor Daniel Ikudayisi Olorunfemi. The title Toxicity meets Heredity, understanding the impact of environmental genotoxins on the molecules of life. Professor Daniel Olorunfemi was born on the 29th of September 1956 to the family of late Mr. Emmanuel Osuma Olorunfemi Okogbe and Madam Comfort Ibinola Okogbe of Ososo in Akoko Edo, local government area of Edo State. He has his primary education at St. Peter's Anglican Grammar School, Ososo, where he obtained his first school living certificate in 1967. He attended St. Paul's Grammar School, Igara, Edo State, where he obtained his West African School certificate in 1972. He studied biochemistry in the University of Benin and graduated with a PhD degree in 1979. Professor Olorunfemi undertook the one-year mandatory national youth service at Government Secondary School, Gindiri, Plateau State in 1980. After his youth corps, he was employed by Edo State Post-Primary Education Board, Benin City, as a school teacher and rose to the position of principal too. In his first to broaden his knowledge, he obtained the MSc degree in botany, plant physiology and biochemistry option, and PhD degree in cells to molecular biology in 1992 and 2008 respectively, both from the University of Benin. I think that deserves an applause because after serving you see, because of his ambition and also his passion for teaching, he decided to join the University of Benin in 1994 as an assistant lecturer in the Department of Botany, now Department of Plant Biology and Biotechnology. In 2014, he transferred to the newly established Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology and became a professor in 2015. Professor Olorunfemi has held several administrative positions within and outside the university, such as acting head, Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology,
Head, Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology, 2015 to 2018. Member, Board of Forensic Programs and DNA Studies, 2018 to 2019. Member, Student Certificate Screening Committee, 2005 to 2014. Chairman, Committee on Cultural Activities, 2014 to 2019. Group Leader, Environmental Genotoxicology Research Group, University of Benin, Benin City, 2012 till date. Co-Leader, Phytomedicinal and Phytotoxicological Research Group, University of Benin, Benin City, 2015 till date. Professor Olorunfemi belongs to some professional bodies and associations, such as Foundation Fellow, Society for Environmental and Public Health of Nigeria, Fellow, Society of Environmental Toxicology and Pollution Mitigation, Fellow, Chartered Institute of Environmental and Public Health Management, Member, Genetic Toxicology Association of Nigeria, Member, Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry, Member, Genetic Toxicology Association of Nigeria, Member, Nigerian Environmental Society, Member, Society of Experimental Biology of Nigeria. Member, West African Society of Toxicology. Member, Society for Forensic and Analytic Scientists, Nigeria. Professor Olorunfemi has over 70 publications comprising monographs, a chapter in a book, and peer-reviewed articles in foreign, national, and local journals. He has supervised over 20 masters and co-supervised 3 PhD theses. He has served as editor-in-chief of African Scientist, a journal of the Society for Experimental Biology of Nigeria. Professor Olorunfemi has served as external examiner to undergraduate programs in various universities. He has served as team member for the Nigerian University Commission's accreditation and resource verification exercises. He is a regular assessor of candidates for professorial positions. He has attended several local and international scientific conferences, workshops, and training and delivered many papers. Professor Olorunfemi loves music and is happily married to Mrs. Christy Olorunfemi, and their union is blessed with children, 3 children and 4 grandchildren. and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Daniel Ikudayisi Olorunfemi to deliver his lecture.
On the protocols already established by the representative of the university PRO. Thank you. I am a fortunate individual, and I thank God for this opportunity to deliver the 314th inaugural lecture of this great university, the second in the Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology, and the first in the Environmental Toxicology discipline of that department. This lecture is dedicated to the Almighty God, the creator of all things and the owner of life, who has brought me this far. He has blessed me more than I deserve. This lecture is also dedicated to Professor Felix and Professor Mrs. Okeme, who ensured that I got this employment as an academic staff in the Department of Botany, as it was then, in this university. God bless you. This lecture is also dedicated to Professor Martins, ICN, who was my best man during our wedding. This is the man who inspired me to continue with my higher education when I had challenges. And also, this was the same person whose photographic microscope I used to take my genotoxicity study, pictures. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for me to obtain my PhD. This lecture is also dedicated to Professor MacDonald Idu. I call him my boss. He was the one who taught me how to write academic papers before I started writing my own. But more importantly, this was the man that God used to break the siege of delay in my PhD graduation. Last but certainly not the least, this lecture is dedicated to my dear wife. Wife of my youth, and she has been the one who has tolerated me this far. When others have, for any small thing, they have given up on me, but she has stood by me.
For a better life.
As we know it today, the major sources of pollution are wastewaters discharged into the aquatic environment from industries, domestic sewage, agro-processing, stormwater, and so on. Data available about the global annual wastewater and effluent generation is quite limited. But currently, when you look at the country-specific available data, there are not less than 380 trillion liters of wastewaters generated globally every year. The unfortunate thing is that only 70% of the wastewater produced in developed countries and only 8% of wastewaters developed in least developed countries is being treated. There's a high volume of effluent indiscriminately discharged poses a serious threat to aquatic ecosystem. Therefore, the importance of toxicity testing cannot be overemphasized. Now, so what are the issues associated with wastewaters? Wastewaters are not single systems. They are complex mixtures, so they must be adequately treated. Effluent toxicity testing of wastewater discharges is mandatory in many countries, and Nigeria should not be an exception. Because when they are disposed improperly, it can lead to changes in both biological and chemical parameters of the receiving water bodies, and depending on the concentration and exposure period, the effluents could be poisonous to plants, aquatic life, and humans. Fortunately for us, we have governmental environmental protection regulatory agencies, notably NESRI, and non-governmental environmental advocacy bodies like the Nigerian Environmental Society, and of course we have HOMEF here, and the director is sitting right in front. So what are the current issues with toxicity testing of wastewaters? It's generally believed, and I dare say that it's correct, to tell us that the guidelines adopted by NESRI are predominantly physicochemical parameters and analytical methods. And these parameters, because they are not based on any known indices, are very hard to enforce. It has been documented that effluent treatment with conventional technology are insufficient to remove chemicals from wastewaters. And so, heavy metals, even at very, very low concentrations, could act in synergy to potentiate toxicity of the mixture. Toxic compounds in effluents contaminate, I beg your pardon, not only groundwater, but also surface water bodies. And unfortunately, and I say very unfortunately, monitoring to ensure compliance is a daunting task, perhaps maybe due to corruption. So what's the current status of toxicity testing? Fortunately for us, and it's a welcome development, that there's now growing public opinion and awareness about the risks associated with discharge of these wastewaters. And WHO in 1976 has made it very clear that the complexity of contaminated water makes it almost impossible to carry out a good hazard assessment based only on chemical and microbial analysis alone. Therefore, there is now growing advocacy by environmental toxicologists, particularly environmental genotoxicologists, to use a battery of biotests without necessarily knowing the chemical substances present in the wastewater, as only a battery of genotoxicity tests can truly assess their potential environmental impact. And you may not know this before, but the use of higher plants as standard bioassays provide alongside physicochemical analysis and other animal tests is strongly advocated. So, here was I employed into the Department of Botany, and I didn't know anything about botany because I was not brought up in botany. I was brought up in biochemistry. So it was not a surprise that when I got there, some of my colleagues taunted me, and even myself, I had to taunt myself. I had to ask myself, what am I doing here? But God assured me that God who has been with me assured me that he brought me and that he will make a way for me. But God had to use somebody, and that man was Professor Felix Okeme. 26 years ago, exactly 2 days ago, 26 years ago, Professor Okeme, gave me an article, Effects of Ternary Effluent on Seed Germination, Leaf Area, Biomass, and so on. And asked me to look at this paper critically and see if I could examine the effect of natural rubber processing effluent, cassava effluent, and then oil palm effluent on some seeds and see what comes out of it. I'm not sure he knew that he was launching me into the area of toxicity testing. I decided to pick on cassava effluents because at that time, Nigeria was already emerging, the world leader in cassava production, as 90% of annual production in this country was targeted for domestic food, gari, lafu, and akpu. And cassava was grown in all the states of the Federation. Now, but the processing of cassava effluent was done majorly by small and medium scale industries. And the processing was not, I repeat, was not regulated nor monitored. So, as a result, large amounts of effluents were generated and discharged indiscriminately, without regard to the environment. And there were no documented information on the long-term effects and quantification of this effluent in biodiversity population. Besides, the effluent produces foul odor and contains biodegradable high solid content. And it was generally believed that cassava effluent was innocuous. So the question we needed to address was, is cassava effluent really innocuous? That took us to our first study, series of studies, the phytotoxicity studies. Why? Because plants are the primary target of noxious substances. So we decided to look at germination and growth profile of 3 plants, so that we could see the effect of this effluent on them. But first of all, as we did for every wastewater or effluent we studied throughout our studies, we always did the physicochemical analysis. And we found that the physicochemical analysis of the cassava effluent was replete with heavy metals and cyanide. So the results we got from our germination studies showed that germination inhibition of the series of maize, guinea corn, and millet were concentration dependent. So also, our growth studies gave similar results. The summary of our findings with our phytotoxicity studies are as follows: that there are marked germination and growth inhibition, and the observed inhibition is due to heavy metal and cyanide content accumulated in the plants which may have reached toxic levels, and that the inhibition is due to effluent toxicity and was concentration dependent. I beg your pardon. So we have since, tested, other effluents and the wastewaters with our phytotoxicity studies, including rubber, ballast water, beach water, and leaches, in urban open dump sites, the leaches from those. And the results were not funny. All these results were published. Olorunfemi et al. I'm sure if you get the book, you will have all the of the details. Now, in my quest to align our phytotoxicity results, the results from our phytotoxicity studies with the global village, I stumbled into the whole effluent toxicity testing program initiated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, USEPA, and the whole effluent assessment testing program, which is an initiative of the European Union OSPA Commission. And this utilizes solely acute and or chronic toxicity measurements. So we decided, to do some acute toxicity studies starting with our cassava effluent. Since we wanted to be sure and give an answer to the innocuity, if there's any English word like that, of that effluent, because nobody seemed to know that nobody believed that it could be harmful. So we chose two organisms, the African catfish and the clam, the sailfish. They are very suitable biomonitoring test organisms. They are acclimatized, and the potential toxicity of the effluent was examined using a renewable static bioassay with continuous aeration to determine the acute toxicity. Our endpoint is immobilization or death. What we found out from our probate analysis was that the clams, that is the sailfish, are more sensitive to the effluent compared to the fish when you examine their LC50. We have since utilized the acute toxicity testing to also assess the effect of other effluents, including the brewery and the non-alcoholic, the abattoir, paint, produce water, processed water, ballast water, and the results are all documented. You can pick up a book, a copy of that book, and you will get all the results, all the details of our findings. Ladies and gentlemen, you discover that both phytotoxicity and acute toxicity has not addressed the topic of this inaugural lecture. None has addressed anything about genotoxicity. So how did I get into genotoxicity? By the way, genotoxicity is that branch of environmental toxicology that assesses the harmful effects of chemicals or physical agents in the environment on the hereditary material and genetic processes of living things. So, my father in the department, Professor G. Okoloko, knowing my background in biochemistry, suggested that we should take our toxicity testing to the cellular level, and decided that we should look at some biochemical parameters, especially some antioxidative enzymes, about 6 or 7 of them, on the Bewaji. He was then in the Department of Biochemistry, University of Ilorin, that he would be of help. Of course, I didn't waste time sending him a message, on email. And after assessing what I wrote, he decided to introduce me to Professor Adekunle Bakare of the University of Ibadan. He was in the zoology department, and I was surprised that a zoologist was using onions. But not for any other thing, but for genotoxicity work. That was how my journey into genetic toxicology started. I thought you would clap for me. Today, I'm grateful to Professor Bakare. He's watching right now. He's in Botswana or somewhere doing his, I don't know what he's doing now, whether he's doing something there and earning some money there. So he's watching. So he gave, with the assistance of his postgraduate students, Professor Hakim and Dr. Alimba, that one is in Germany watching me too now. These fellows really assisted me and launched me into an area that I could beat my chest and say, not many of my colleagues in University of Benin knew what I was doing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of DNA. What is, for every living cell, every living organism, we are made up of cells. In the nucleus of that cells reside the chromosome. And the chromosomes contain the DNA. And a stretch of DNA is called the gene. What is the relationship? I'll tell you in a short while. Now let's just quickly look at some of the functions of DNA again. One, DNA controls indirectly controls all the functioning of all living things because it directs the machinery of a cell to make specific proteins. And DNA stores the hereditary information of an individual. DNA also has the ability to mutate. So, how is the hereditary material from wastewaters affected? I mean, how does it affect the hereditary material? In 3 ways. One, let me start by saying the wastewaters contain toxic substances or nanomaterials, and they could be genotoxic or mutagenic. All mutagens are genotoxic, but not all genotoxic substances are mutagenic. And mutations can either affect the germ cells or the body cells. So I've already told you that the gene is a length of DNA that specifies a product or action. Now, so what does it do? If that genotoxic agent affects the chromosome, it will lead to chromosomal aberration. That is, it will alter the structure, and if care is not taken, it will alter the number of chromosomes present. Or it could affect the DNA directly, the DNA that are residing in the chromosome. Or it could affect the gene. So, over the past decades, several assays have been developed to assess the effect of genotoxins on the hereditary material. Over these years, and with the long stay I had in the Department of Botany, that is now Plant Biology and Biotechnology, Elum Sepa, I had to be protective. I didn't bother learning other assay because when promotion comes and plant organism is not used, only God knows what will happen. So I decided to focus on Elum Sepa. The Elum Sepa assesses damage to chromosomes. I also use micronucleus. Micronucleus also assesses damage to the chromosome. And we also used Comet assay. Comet assay assesses the DNA directly. So let me start with the Elum Sepa cytogenotoxicity assay. The Elum Sepa bioassay is among the 7 higher plant bioassays reviewed by the United States Environmental Protection Agency Gene Tox program in 1980 for toxicity studies for screening and monitoring environmental pollutants in situ and ex situ with numerous advantages. And I dare say that this assay was one of the protocols adopted and standardized by the International Program on Plant Bioassays for monitoring or testing environmental pollutants, which is currently under operation under the auspices of the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, as I speak. This assay, whenever if there are chromosome aberrations, there were a reduction in the number of dividing cells, which tells us the mitotic index. What I know now, the level I've attained, the professionalism I've attained with Elum Sepa assay, I learned it from the late Professor Gerrit Fijesco. She was so close, we became so close that when we lost her, the son, Magnus, had to send me an email that Mama is gone. But because I didn't have money, I've not really had money, you know. So, and that's why I want to continue to thank my wife that she stayed put with me. You know. So I couldn't attend the funeral. We're so close. This woman, Google and search for her. You will see that she is the one, she's one of the leading environmental geneticists who standardized and developed the Elum Sepa cytogenotoxicity assay for genotoxicology work. Now, what are the endpoints of the evaluation in this assay? There are mitotic index and aberrant cells. What I mean by that is that, see, as the concentration of the effluent increases, the number of dividing cells decreases. And that is a function of the mitotic index. Then, as that happens, the number of aberrant cells will increase. And some of these aberrant cells are very dangerous. Each one, I can't explain everything here because of time. You have C mitosis, stickiness, bridges, you know. Only a genotoxicologist will understand what I'm saying. Don't pretend to understand because you don't understand. Now, by the grace of God, we have used the Elum Sepa cytogenotoxicity, assay to screen over 30. I mean, over 30 wastewaters and effluents. Industrial, you can see them on the screen. We have screened all this, including, ballast water, abattoir, even the Coca-Cola here, a 7-Up there, Guinness there, and mushroom. This director is there. We have worked together. He knows. So, and even sachet water. May I tell this audience, Madam Vice Chancellor, that at the time we conducted the assay on Uniben sachet water, it was the best. Yes. It was so good at that time. I don't know what it is now. That we were now using the Uniben sachet water as our control. And our work is published in international journals. So this is not a just take the book, you will see the places we have published. So we have, they are all published. They are all published. There are some we didn't even bother to publish. Because I didn't have enough money, so anytime I know that I have crossed over to the next level of promotion, I will stop publishing. So some are yet to be published. We have the result, and they have not been published. Because nobody can publish them, because they don't know it. But Uniben borehole water was not as good. I don't know whether it has improved now. We publish our findings in the University of Lagos Faculty of Science Journal. You can read it up. It was not as good. So we are calling on Uniben water to do something drastic. We have done all that. So the summary of our Elum Sepa cytogenotoxicity assay results are that this genotoxicity assay offer attractive alternative to mammalian and non-mammalian animal assays in mutagen screening programs. We say that with certainty. And we are saying that it is a good indicator of genetic and mutagenic effects of effluents. Cytostatic influence of effluents was ruled out in all our studies, and false negatives were also ruled out, in our studies. Now, having made that feat, we decided to now use the micronucleus test. Like I said, the micronucleus is often that broken, chromosome fragment that remains inside the cytoplasm. It doesn't go into the nucleus after cell division, which was not carried to the opposite poles, during the mitosis. Now, so in the end, after cytokinesis, one daughter cell ends up with one nucleus, and the other one ends up with one large nucleus and one small nucleus, which is called micronucleus. This test is a tool for genotoxicity assessment of chemicals in effluents or wastewaters, and is used to quantify chromosomal damage in the roots of our test organism. Then we use the third one. The third genotoxicity assay is the COMET assay. The COMET assay is a technique used for measuring DNA damage in single cells. And the basis of that is that loops of DNA containing, a break loose of their supercooling, coiling, and become free to extend towards the anode when exposed to current during electrophoresis at high pH. The COMET assay is a very sensitive assay, a very sensitive method to detect the effects of environmental mutagen products in bio monitoring studies. It is the tail of this comet. If you remember Halley's, Halley's comet, that is the way the comet assay, comes. The tail is the damaged DNA. We have our way of representing and calculating our results. Again, we have used this to assess, still our cassava effluent. Remember, we were bent on proving that cassava effluent was not, innocuous as people think. We have also used it for, the carbonated drink, industry, 7-Up, brewery, glass, and all this, they are all almost, they have been accepted for publication. I thought I was going to deliver, in September, so I would have started the process, but they have been accepted. Now, we now decided to take our toxicity testing to the molecular level. So we use 3 methods. We use DNA markers, and then qPCR, and then gene expression. For the DNA marker, we decided to use the random amplified polymorphic DNA, since it's PCR based, and then the process, utilizes amplification products of anonymous DNA sequences using single, short, and arbitrary oligonucleotide primers. And it results in appearance and disappearance of bands. And this is attributed to changes or mutation of DNA of the test organism induced by the wastewater when you compare it with control. Then, after obtaining our polymorphic bands, we'll now subject it to cluster analysis to generate a dendrogram, which will reveal the extent of genotoxicity of the effluents. This is a summary of our results of our DNA polymorphism. The DNA damage was evident in profiles via appearance and disappearance of bands. And this appearance and disappearance of bands is attributed to changes in the mutation or changes or mutation of DNA of the test organism induced by the effluent. The references are there. Now, we have used this RAPD fingerprinting to assess, to screen a number of, effluents, agro-processing, industrial, maritime, transport, and even, rural drinking water. They are all published. Olorunfemi et al., 2016, 2017, 2015 H, If there is H, there is A, B, C, D, and all that. And then of J. They are all published. And you can check them out anytime. Now, we now use the gene expression to cap up our genetic studies. Gene expression refers to that process by which information encoded in genes is used to direct the synthesis of functional gene products. I'm referring to proteins. So if there is an overexpression of genes, it means that a particular gene can occur due to various reasons, and that includes genetic mutation. And it may contribute to disease state. We have done that for a number of effluents, including same cassava, brewery, Guinness, the glass industry in Ughelli, and 7-Up. I've been mentioning 7-Up. To the extent that the one from 7-Up has so affected the gene that it has transformed even the sex genes, transforming, changing female gene, female sex to male sex. So no wonder you don't have as many fish in the river. I'm talking of Ikoba River, that is why. Simple. Now, what is the essence of all these studies? There are risks. One, risk to your body cells and risk to your germ cells, to your sex cells. And this risk for somatic, it can lead to premature aging. The skin of a very young man will now start looking old. And you think he's very old. And some people think I'm a young man. I think you heard when I was born. And at least my wife tells me I'm not looking as old. Thank you. Some other people tell me too. But I won't mention your name. And so, these mutations can result in a variety of other health-related disorders, including sterility, multifactorial diseases like diabetes, and so on and so forth. Now, this is where the warning is. When there is a damage to genes, and these genes is not corrected, this damage is not corrected timely and correctly, the change in the DNA sequence can occur and cause mutations. And when mutations occur, it can lead to dire consequences. That is the problem. So, you may say, are you not just over-exaggerating? I'm not. No, it's not over-exaggerating. The fact that it doesn't occur frequently does not mean that it does not occur. And it is better that you save one life and save that life than just allow a life to go carelessly. Now, these are submissions. To the best of our ability, to the best of our knowledge, we are, for the first time, we have used a battery of genotoxicity assays as well as molecular techniques to obtain data from industrial effluents, leaches, and maritime wastewaters in adult data states to clearly implicate their genotoxicological effects in much ways than imagined. We have also used our genotoxicity and molecular applications and found out that they were they were excellent detectors of cytogenetic and mutagenic effects of all the effluents and wastewaters we have studied so far in those data states. Agro-processing effluents are not exempted. Even drinking water sources are not exempted. 10 minutes, thank you for. And then these are our recommendations. Large amounts of industrial effluents are passed into the environment on a daily basis. Therefore, they should be adequately treated before discharge. There is the regular monitoring, there's need for regular monitoring and appropriate legislation which must be enforced. And then we are asking on the regulatory agencies to incorporate our genotoxicity and molecular experimental findings into their database for policy formulation. After all, Brazil has aligned with international recommendations to use standardized bioassays for, for species, for genotoxicological work. Why can't our own people in Nigeria use our own? Then we are recommending that nursery and all these other people should interact more with our association, of which, by the grace of God, I am a founding member of the Genetic Toxicology Association of Nigeria. And we are very few. So please, discuss with us so we can save more lives and put pressure on government and these regulatory agencies to do their work. Funding is grossly inadequate. The fact is that most of the studies were done privately funded. That's why I don't have money, so don't come. That's that. And then, of course, there are limited dedicated laboratories. So we have to work between laboratories, and some of these laboratories are far from each other. So when my HOD was advising me to be careful, he didn't understand. Now you understand. I have to walk between laboratories very far, because I don't have it here. By the way, basic facilities are not available. HOD, sir, please. And then, of course, please, I want to advise, as much as possible, avoid river water in Benin, especially Ikpoba River. Avoid it too. Do not say I did not tell you. And avoid that one in Ugeli, where the glass industry is located, because they just discharge their destiny. Avoid it. Then borehole water. I used to think that borehole water is good. You just take borehole and then drink. Please don't try it. If you have sunk a borehole in your house, make sure you have a filter. And if you have not sunk a borehole, you can always contact that man in charge of mushroom. We have worked together. You can use my mushroom to filter your water before drinking. He didn't pay me for this. Conclusion. We have used these assays, and we have found that cassava effluent is not innocuous. We have used our assays, and we can say with certainty that all the wastewaters of all the major industrial establishments in Edo Delta are not safe to the environment. So permit me to say and close with these popular scriptures. 1, because sentence against an evil is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set to do evil. And Proverbs 29:1 says, he that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Now Bible talk am, no me talk am. So, please, a word is enough for the wise. Let's value life, and let's talk to government. And if necessary, I invited Nesri to this lecture. Nesri, I don't know whether any of you is here. I've told you, I'll be telling you. So, and the choice is ours. I pray we will choose wisely in Jesus' name. Acknowledgement to my family. We have lost our father and our mother, but thank God our eldest brother is still alive. Mr. Solomon Olorunfemi, thank you, sir. My big bros, Pastor Joshua Olorunfemi, is also here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I want to also thank the family that gave me my beautiful wife, the Odidis. I don't know whether Dr. Odidi is around with his beautiful wife. He told me he will come. We are and the entire Odidi family. I also appreciate my fellowship, the Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship International. I want to particularly recognize and thank my first president when I entered that fellowship, Professor Osagi Apata. I made a friend in that Full Gospel. He's going to be with the Lord, Dr. Toje Eresimara. I want to assure him that he remains in my heart. I can never forget. And then my district coordinator in the Full Gospel will have coordinator districts. My district coordinator, Dr. Matthew Okaze, I think he said he will be around. I'm sure he will come later. And then I want to thank my church, where I worship, my resident pastor, Pastor Dr. David Popola. I don't know whether he's around. Thank you, sir. And every member of that church, the deacons, the elders, all of them, I appreciate you all. And every member. Those are my declaration you need. Although you don't see me often, but I did. Ministry, and I see so many. Reverend Nimo Basi, Dr. Nimo Basi. Thank you, sir. And the Assistant General Superintendent of New Covenant Gospel Church International, Reverend Jimo Kadri, is my very good friend. Thank you, sir. And I thought I saw Pastor John, Dr. John, okay, John Rigby, I think I saw him with his wife. Thank you. Please, just collect the book. Your names are all there.
Then, my own energetic ministry, I appreciate Pastor Victor, who is in Canada, is watching me right now. And then, of course, this young man, Isaac Oluwafen, I appreciate you. Of course, in the University of Benin, I appreciate our great Professor G.D. Oshodi. Because Professor Oshodi that made me the pioneer HOD, and it is for life. You can't change it. I don't know to say. And when you
gave me another honorary professorship on this stage, I am a professor, honorary professor of music, as given to me by Professor Oshodi. My boss, Professor Lawrence Ezimoye, I can never forget you. He took me out of this country for academic conference for the first time in my life. And didn't stop there, and took me around Africa. You don't know Giza, I know Giza. You only see pyramid in the picture. I climb pyramid. Courtesy of Professor. My dean, my faculty of life sciences, my dean is here. Thank you, sir. All professors and all members of staff, academic and non-academic, in the faculty of life sciences, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But particularly, I want to appreciate the head of department, PBB. Dennis, where are you now? You told, if you don't come, I will find you. And then my HOD, Alex is there. Thank you. And members of staff, you see them dressed specially for this occasion. God bless all of you. I will not also fail to mention Professor Mrs. Abo Igoroje, and then, of course, my friends in Fupri, particularly Professor Iwekumo Agbozu is more than a friend, is my brother from another mother. And he was the one who, in the University of Africa, introduced me and gave me sabbatical placement. I thank you. The Lord, Justice, the Chief Judge of Edo State, retired. I'm sure he's here. I appreciate you and all my friends there. NICEP family, BHS family, and Professor Koloko, I appreciate you. Now my family, my son, Heredity, thank you for being a good son. And your wife. My daughter is watching from Australia. You are hearing me, I'm praising you. And then Ubose, where's Ubose? Aha, and your wife, thank you. And my grandchildren, wonderful. They are all there. Then, my wife again. To God be all the glory. Thank you for listening.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
And I respectfully invite the Vice Chancellor.
Good evening, it's now evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You must agree with me that we have learned so much from this inaugural lecture. And I really think we should please give another round of applause. It's just been a wonderful lecture. And we can see that, you know, as we say, the university, one of our mandates is research. And you can see what he has been doing. And the research not just only affects those within the university community, he has also carried it out all over the world. And so we are really so happy with this inaugural lecture. Before I go on to summarize the lecture, I want to once again welcome our elders. Professor Emeritus Tiko out. You are still okay out. You are always with us. Thank you very much. Our own Professor Lawrence Ezemoye, you are always with us. Thank you very much, and thank you for being a mentor to so many people. And all our retired professors, Professor Erafuna, Professor Koloko, and so many others, we should thank you for being here and being supportive to the university at all times. You are always identifying with us anytime we call on you. So thank you very much. Our own former registrar, Mrs. Oshodi, thank you for coming. Thank you very much. So now I want to give a recap of the lecture, a synopsis of the lecture. But I know, our lecturer has been so good. He has explained so many things to us, and we have learned a lot. Though he said, oh, if we are not Gino, what did you call it again? We won't understand. But we actually understand, and we actually understand the impact of what he has been doing to our environment and to the country and the world as a whole. This inaugural lecture presents a batch of genotoxicity, short-term bioassays, and their contribution in the toxicity testing of effluents and wastewaters from agro-processing, industrial establishments, domestic sewage, groundwater and leachates, predominantly in Midwestern Nigeria, Edo and Delta State. Midwestern Nigeria because when he started his research, it was probably Midwestern Nigeria. The primary concern of this document is the measurement of genotoxic potential in aquatic organisms under field and lab conditions, where effects of genotoxins and varying combination of biological organizations can be examined. The opening section of the document provides a concise description of genetic biases that were used to test wastewaters and effluents. The importance of this task arises from the ubiquity of genotoxic compounds in the environment and the immediate concern for the welfare of human health and environment. The subheadings of this document include a description of the genetic biases that have been used to test industrial waste, a compendium of the biases and molecular techniques, and a review of the genetic toxicity of waste and effluents. In this evaluation, a discussion of the types and extent of genotoxic damage caused by the effluents is presented. Concluding, the document is a commentary which discloses potential shortcomings in the way in which current legislation protects human health and the environment from the release of genotoxic substances via wastewaters and effluents. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for coming.
I invite the inaugural lecturer, please step forward for your declaration. Vice Chancellor will now decorate our inaugural lecturer for today. Please, members of the immediate family, wife, children, grandchildren, please come off stage. Thank you. Very quickly. Please come off stage this way. The Vice Chancellor is now decorating our lecturer for today. And he's being joined off stage here by members, immediate members of his family. I'd like to welcome my wife, Mrs. Christy Olorunfemi. We welcome the children, Mr. Heredity Olorunfemi, Mr. Wose Olorunfemi. We welcome Mrs. Jennifer Olorunfemi, daughters-in-law. We also welcome you, Mrs. Emo Olorunfemi. And to the grandchildren, Amariah and Lucius, we welcome you to today's inaugural lecture. We also welcome, this is okay to put your hands together for them. Thank you. Thank you very much. We also welcome other relatives today. We welcome you, Mr. Solomon Olorunfemi, Mr. Joshua Olorunfemi. Thank you very much for coming. We also welcome you, Mr. Moses Ajayi. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you all very much. We'd like to welcome one of our own and the Vice Chancellor of Nation University, Okada, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu-Ezimoye. He's here with his wife, Professor Mrs. Mary Ezimoye. We welcome you, sir and ma. Please put your hands together to receive Emeritus Professor T.O.K. Awudu and his wife, Professor Mrs. Awudu. We also welcome our former registrar of our university. We also welcome the immediate past librarian of our university, Professor Lisa Obasaki. We welcome you. We also like to welcome also the one-time librarian of our university. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to see and celebrate Dr. Mrs. Izzy Itiotu. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. We also welcome University, Mr. Godwin Okuru. We welcome you and we thank you for coming. We also welcome Professor Felix Okeme. Please put your hands together to celebrate the former dean of the postgraduate school here at the University of Benin. We also welcome you, Professor Musai Gafona. We welcome you, Professor Wadiak. We'd like to welcome you also Professor Batona Idu. We welcome you, University Orator, Professor Mike Mbirani. You're welcome. Please put your hands together for the University Orator. We welcome you also Professor Mrs. Faustina Idu. You're welcome to today's inaugural lecture. We also make welcome Professor Umasi Okoni. You're welcome, ma'am. We welcome you, Professor Osumo. We welcome Professor Adewala Adelekun. Omega, you're welcome back. We welcome you.
Professor Mrs. C.O. Okeme. Please put your hands together for her. You saw a picture earlier on the screen. We also welcome Professor P.R.O.C. Ado. Professor John Olorunfemi. And also welcome to you, Professor Ajayi. We welcome and Professor Faith of Yasoge. Please, we'd like you to celebrate with us the Assistant General Superintendent of the New Covenant Gospel Church. He is Reverend Mustafa Ohis Jimo Kadiri. Please put your hands together to celebrate him. We're happy to have you here, sir. We're also happy to have you, Reverend Nemo Bassi, also of the New Covenant Gospel Church. We welcome you. We also welcome and receive you, Dr. Omega, all the way from Bayelsa State. We welcome Reverend Sister Ogwanam. Welcome, ma. We also welcome Dr. Teke. We make welcome today all BOSA alumni. Please put your hands together to celebrate yourselves. Thank you for coming. We also thank you for coming, all members of the Full Gospel.
Please put your hands together for yourselves. Thank you very much for coming. We also want to welcome very specially all staff and students, but this time, very specially all staff and students of the EMT department, all the way in the Faculty of Life Sciences. Thank you for coming. And this is how we conclude. Okay. Please put your hands together to celebrate Justice Mrs. Imomi.
We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you very much for
coming. And this is how I'd like to conclude the 314th inaugural lecture of the University of Benin. We thank you for coming, and we expect to see you after our next inaugural lecture. We'll be upstanding now.
Third stanza of the national anthem. Greatest Uniben.
Thank you. Please can you remain where you are to the Vice Chancellor. This is the entourage out of the auditorium. Thank you. Please remain where you are. Thank you.